everyone, good morning and welcome to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. Shakespeare's Coriolanus is a blistering drama about a general voted into power by a populace hungry for change and the unraveling that follows. Thanks to Shakespeare in the Park, you can see it for free until August 11th. And joining me today to talk about the action and the drama are stars Kate Burton, Teagle Bougere, and Enid Graham. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So I have to admit, Coriolanus is not one of Shakespeare's plays that I was super familiar with, but I think that's why it was so exciting to see and why we haven't seen it at Shakespeare in the Park since, what, like 1979? So what was so interesting about this specific play that made you guys want to be a part of it? Enid, I can start with you.
I am like you. I wasn't familiar with it at all. And I think maybe part of the reason was because there aren't that many women's parts in it. And so I just didn't really explore it. I didn't have opportunity to audition for it anytime. And to me, it's a revelation. I love this play. And it's so timely, and it's really exciting. And although I love doing Shakespeare, it can be a little exhausting to, Romeo and Juliet, we've all seen it a million times, a brilliant play, but, this is fun because it's a play many, many people haven't seen and don't know, even basically what happens in the play. So it's kind of the brilliance of Shakespeare meets a new discovery for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Is it the same for you guys, or?
Yeah, I mean, I actually threw my hat into the ring. I had the great experience of being with Teagle 4 years ago in Cymbeline, also in the Park, also directed by Dan Sullivan. And I knew, I just was so thrilled. It was another play that not a lot of people knew. So I thought, and like Enid, I didn't know the play. The only time it's been produced, I think, pretty much in New York City is at the Public Theater, whether at the, the actual public on Astor Place or Shakespeare in the Park with Morgan Freeman and Gloria Foster in 1979. But, it's always fascinating to get to know a play that we don't know very well. And I knew the part of Volumnia, the mother, was larger than life, literally. I barely have a voice. But, and so I just threw my hat into the ring. I had no idea who was playing Coriolanus, nothing. But I had had such a glorious experience in Cymbeline 4 years ago that I thought, oh, this will be great. Yeah.
Teagle, I'm going to give you. Oh, I was going to give you the task of kind of walking us through what Coriolanus is about.
Great.
Good luck.
I'd prefer to talk about why I wanted to.
Okay.
Then I'll do that. I wanted to do the play because of the part. Menenius is a fabulous part, and I'd actually done the play many, many years ago, but didn't really remember it well, believe it or not, like 20 years ago. But the opportunity to work with Dan again was inviting to me, and to play this part, because it's a part that I couldn't have played 20 years ago because of my age, and I've grown to the point. So that was the most attractive part about it. To tell you what the play is about.
Yes. Go ahead. Good luck.
Enid or Kate can do that. I prefer.
I sometimes do it, but then I'm like, I feel like you guys are so much more into the material, you can make it more concise. And I'd be like, well, and then this happens, and then so just like a brief overview of what it is.
You described it really well, actually, what you said in terms of, the basic premise of the play. I mean, it's basically about a flawed leader, something we know nothing about right now, and and how how he sort of navigates dealing with the citizens of the place that he's leading, and so it kind of is a play that you kind of think, oh my God, is this going to go really badly? And then you think, oh yeah, it kind of does. But it's got many twists and turns, which are very interesting. And there's a particular thing that happens in the second half that I think is very surprising for everybody. Shakespeare, let's talk about Shakespeare for just 2 minutes. It's just extraordinary to be here all these hundreds and hundreds of years later and to be doing the work of this unbelievable writer that is so, prescient and so relevant. Of the moment, so relevant of what we're dealing with in our own country today and countries all around the world, that it just is mind-boggling to work on him. And I think that's another reason why we all keep coming back to Shakespeare over and over, is that he just never ceases to amaze us, and I think the biggest thing, my 13-year-old niece came last night, Scarlett, and she had never seen a Shakespeare play, she'd never seen me in a play, she understood it, she knew what was going on, and that's what's so exciting. And you see a lot of young kids in the audience, little kids, like pretty little kids, and they they understand what's happening. And I think part of it is the brilliance of our director, Dan Sullivan, is that he knows how to make it so immediate and accessible to an audience.
I've had a lot of kids tell me over the years they don't like Shakespeare or say, I hate Shakespeare. And I always say, no, you hate bad Shakespeare. Because the stories are fabulous. And if it's done well, they will get it. They will get it. They don't get it when it's done poorly. I don't get it when it's done poorly.
And like you said, these stories are timeless. I kept thinking, what if Coriolanus had a Twitter account?
Yeah, don't even.
And it brings us right to where we are politically now. And so there were all these ties that you can make. And I would say, like, yeah, sometimes the dialogue you have to really pay attention, but the context is always there. And then you instantly are locked back in, even if you get lost for a second, which I love, which is a testament to your performances and the direction. And because I've seen several, I went to Much Ado and it was the same thing. It was like the performances really bring the language to life. So let's talk about your characters. I'm gonna start with you because you play the mom, and she is this force.
She's a force of nature.
She's a force of nature. Yeah, we
And
have
in
a
a
photo
way,
as well.
I mean, one of the things I always say about Shakespeare is he tells you what you have to do. And, you know, whenever I try to, like, find a different, interesting, like, side ways to approach the character, it's like, no, it's not that. It's he wants her to be tough as nails, you know, rip him a new one every day. And so it's been really, really incredible. The other thing is, you know, with so many of his great supporting roles, that's like 6 scenes. It's not that many scenes, and it's, you know, so I get to do a lot, but I also get to have a lot of time where I get to watch the other parts of the play, listen to the other parts of the play, which I love. I love this kind of experience. So she is, yeah, tough as nails mom, and you know, what can I say? She is very challenging. It's a very challenging role to play, but it's also, as I say, he gives you the roadmap.
Yeah. She is like the epitome of like single mom to me, though. Do you know what I
Total
mean?
single mom. There is no mention of a husband. There's
She
no
has to be
father.
tough.
They don't mention the father or the husband. It's literally like, how did she have him? We
I'm
don't know.
interested with how you approach the dialogue, because I noticed with you, you would be speaking one cadence and then speak really, really, really fast as well. And I was just thinking how complicated that would be because the language is so different and then you're changing and there's all these levels. And so like, how much work does it take for you to really kind of master that?
To learn it initially for me is unmitigated hell because it's not the way we speak. But once the amazing thing about Shakespeare is once you get it, it's a rhythm thing for me, and then I just have it. And I know when I've gone off if I've missed one little syllable here or there. But learning it for me at this point in my life is, oh my God, I can't learn this. There's just no way I can do it. And then you suddenly go, oh my God, I know it. It's shocking.
Is that the same for you guys? What was your process to the dialogue and how to approach it?
I think that it's hard to learn. It takes simple work to do, and then the more specific you can be. I mean, he chooses these words that sometimes, as you're learning it, you're like, why do I keep forgetting the line there? And you're like, oh, it's because I haven't decided why I say, you know, this specific word. You know, he's so amazing. Like one of my lines is, you know, sir, I hope my words unbenched you not. You know, a word like unbenched, you know, is different than just saying, oh, I hope I didn't chase you out of your seat. You know, it's very, very clear. And the more specific you can get about why those words, why this minute, why this person saying those words, then it's easier to learn.
I agree with that 100%. Is being very specific. It helps so much. And as Enid said, just work. I'm just a big believer in preparation. You know, prepare, and then you go out and you see what happens. But just make choices and prepare.
I'd like to point out that this is a man, you didn't do it with this one, but who usually is pretty much off book when he gets to rehearsal, which is...
He was off book.
I wasn't
he
fully.
played Plato, you know, the philosopher. He played him right before.
That's why I wasn't off book,
Oh my
because
God.
I was doing.
But this, I've
yeah.
never seen anybody who gets where you got.
And actors have there are two theories about that. Some actors don't like to be off book before because they like to learn the line with where they're moving, and they put them together. Others, like I tend to, especially it's a large part, like to learn it ahead of time, so that I have it, and I will make my own choices without a cast, without collaborating, and I feel I'm flexible enough to change them. But I will make my own choices, learn the script, and then I go in with that. This show, I didn't do that because I didn't have time. No, I learned a lot of
You
it,
look
but I
really
didn't learn the
good.
whole. I didn't learn the whole thing.
I was
Like,
very
he learned
intimidated by you.
I didn't learn the whole thing.
A little, yeah.
On that note, you play Menenius, am I saying
Yes.
that right?
Yes,
And he's
Men-
very charismatic and seems to be able to like get people to sway his way, except for Coriolanus is a little different.
Absolutely, and he has Coriolanus for part. What's great about the part, the reason I love the part, is because, especially in Dan's version of it, everyone's in dire straits, but some have more than others. He asked me one day, he said, what did Menenius want? I said, Menenius wants the status quo. We talked about some people are inside, we're inside, some people are outside, have trouble. Yeah, and Menenius is doing okay. So it's why throughout the play, he often is he asks for peace. Calm. Let's stop with Coriolanus, with the people, everyone, and he plays both sides because he's a man of the people. He loves the people. He goes to the bar, but he's a patrician too, So, and if push comes to shove, he's gonna push the people away and stay with Volumnia. But I love that it's both sides. It's wonderful to play.
Yeah. And speaking of the other side, you played Junius Brutus, who's a little bit of a hater. So what do you think motivates your character to want to take down this man?
The play starts with a big problem, which is that the people are starving, and they need food, and so they're having an uprising in the city, rioting, and the response that the patricians have to this uprising of the starvation of the people is to appoint some representation for the people. So my character is one of two tribunes, and the tribunes are a new invention in this burgeoning republic, which is what would happen if the people have some voice in the government. And I think most of us would agree that that's a good thing, And that's what's very interesting about Shakespeare is it's in this play it is impossible to tell who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. Those delineations don't exist in this play. So my character is my mission is to speak for the people and to make sure that they aren't taken advantage of by the richies over here. And but then of course in the course of doing that, it, like with all politicians, it becomes a little hard to discern what is speaking for the people and what is trying to preserve my own power. And
not even just preserve, increase. I feel about the tribunes. Not even.
Yeah.
I feel that I feel you get kind of drunk on your power personally.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's probably a fair assessment, but if Coriolanus becomes consul in the play, it's very clear from his opinions about the people. He hates the people, and he believes they should have no representation. That he would completely eradicate that gain that the people have made. So taking him down is basic survival for the voice of the people. But it's complicated, and that's the way that, as we were working on this play and I was watching all the political machinations going on in our country right now, and it's so interesting to see Congress people fighting or not fighting or making decisions, and you think, is that really for the good of the country or is that for your own good? And it's very hard to tell. And for Brutus, my character, I think it's hard to tell when you're in that position too. It's how are you going to represent the people if you get voted out of office, or in this case, if your position is eradicated. But if you're spending all your time making sure you maintain your own power, is that really helping the country and helping the people? So this is one of the questions that is brought up by Shakespeare, and I will say that he does not give any answer.
Sadly.
We still have no answer. And your character is traditionally a male role, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think that's something really cool that I've seen with the public theater and with Shakespeare in the Park that I think is so cool, is they're always looking to diversify the cast in as many ways possible. So what does that mean for you guys as actors because I know you've played traditionally male Shakespearean roles in the past as well.
Yeah, 4 years ago in
Yeah.
Cymbeline, I played a old warrior called Belarius, and then I just played Prospera in The Tempest.
Right.
Yeah.
So how cool is that for you guys that, roles that were traditionally male dominated women are, can take it on.
It's exciting, and I was surprised when I found out, seriously, when I found out Enid was playing Brutus, because I thought she was playing one of the ladies, and when I saw it was Brutus, I was excited, and it's such a great part. She's such a good actor, and it's seamless. I mean, I don't ever think, I have lines where I'm supposed to say men or Mr., which I've changed to masters, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it actually, almost feels better, because I feel like having a guy and a woman, it feels like it's really representing everyone. So I think it's great. And the public did it also with, Oscar did it with the Julius Caesar I did.
Yeah.
He had Mark Antony was a woman.
Right.
And he had other people who were women. And
Elizabeth Marvel.
I think it works.
Yeah.
Fine.
Also, it's kind of divine retribution because, of course, all the original in Shakespeare's time, all the women were played by young boys. So that's enough already. But it's been an incredible thing, I would say, in the probably last 5-6 years that many women have taken on male roles in Shakespeare, and I think it's pretty much an extraordinary thing. It's really working.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Absolutely agree.
seamless. I mean, it doesn't even occur to me that Junius Brutus is anything but, this incredible actress playing her.
The characters aren't really gendered. I mean,
Yeah, they're not.
Their roles are not.
They're people.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Coriolanus again, and I'm going to say, why is Junius Brutus a guy? It's supposed to be
What is
a
that?
girl, a woman.
Another thing I really love is the setting. It almost looked like Mad Max or like a post-apocalyptic
That's exactly right.
world. Here's a photo of it. Yeah. And I love that because it's sort of supposed to be ancient Rome, but, I love that take on it. So does anybody know just the conversations around why that was the decision or?
Dan talked a lot about the upcoming climate catastrophe. And this play is set in early Rome, so it's Rome becoming a republic. So he imagined another time in the future after our civilization as we know it has broken down and people are trying to organize and they're dealing with a lot of dearth. So there's not enough water, there's not enough food, and he felt that mirrored an early Roman setup, but was something that made the play more immediate to us right now, that, all we have are things of metal and 1,000,000 trillion plastic bottles. That's what's left for human beings to fight over. So, it's more difficult, I think more challenging to tell the story of this play in this setting because, as they described it, the society is compressed. So the have-nots and the haves are not as far apart as say, they would be now. So when you're thinking about costuming and telling the story visually, it's easier if all the rich people can be in tuxedos and all the poor people can be in rags. And in our play, everyone's kind of in rags. And so it's a little more subtle, the differences. I think Dan said some people sleep inside, some people sleep outside. Yeah. And that's the kind of difference.
Delineate it.
Yeah, between the rich and the poor in this future apocalypse that the plays. So come, it's a fun.
The thing about the show, though, is it's interesting. It sounds very dark, and it is very dark, but it's also really compelling. I mean, it's just a great story, and you can tell the audience reactions, and they have wonderful reactions. Even in really dark moments, they sort of chuckle.
Well, Shakespeare knows how to tell a story.
That's
I mean,
so
you know, like how to lead you on and then surprise you. You know,
Yeah.
it's exciting all the way through.
I laughed several times.
Oh, yeah. Even in kind of really dark
Of
moments.
course. I've got a dark sense of humor.
Yeah, right. Well, that's it. But then, of course, we do have to bring up the other aspect of being outside in the park. And that is all our little friends who are with us, our little critters. So the only thing actually we were saying somebody really needs to say is if you bring food with you, it's fine. Just hold it in your lap during the show. Because last night a young friend of mine said he'd put his little bag down by his foot and suddenly there was a little face of a little raccoon trying to grab his little half sandwich. So, there's that. And that's just part of the park. I mean, honestly, we're in the park. Yeah. The thing is I grew up in New York City. I'm a total New Yorker. And I think that doing Shakespeare in the Park has made me appreciate the park in a way that I never have I've totally taken it for granted. I'm like, yeah, great, Central Park, whatever. It's like now I'm like, what an amazing, beautiful park, oh my God. But also, where the setting of where we are, we have this amazing little lake behind us. There's all these turtles that like live in the grass. There's amazing birds that sometimes if you're watching the show, you'll see like an incredible white bird fly by. I mean, it's staggering. And on great moonlit nights, oh my God, there's nothing more beautiful. And so it's sort of that tradition of being outside and seeing Shakespeare, which of course is from time immemorial, that it's sort of such a community event. It's so part of New York City in the summertime. And the other thing, of course, is the weather. And the weather has been, speaking of challenge, cataclysmic climate change. I mean, the weather, oh my God. I mean, we've had, you name it, we've had it.
I was supposed to come on Monday.
Oh, yeah,
and we
forget
had
it.
that flood warning.
Flood,
and I was
raining.
like, can we reschedule?
We were all set to go, and then there was a lightning. And the minute there's lightning, you have to stop the show for 20 minutes. And then we get to the point where we can't complete the show, so they never did the show. But, we get all ready. We're all in our costumes. We're ready to go. As Enid and I know, we put on our makeup. Then we throw dirt on. Everybody's got dirt on. Even the rich people are a little bit dirty. And, we were all ready to go. So we've had 2 shows that have been rained out. So we've only done it, like 5 times?
2 rained out, but then where we normally would have done a show on the weekend, they weren't scheduled because there was going to be the concert in the park.
And then they canceled.
Yeah, and then it was canceled. So we did Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, 3 in a row. And that rarely happens. Really rare. Yeah, we did a run-through, which I don't think, I've done many shows out there. I don't think I've ever done a run-through in the day in the park, but we did it because we hadn't done the play in so long. Yeah.
With that note, just because I love the light, I had this moment last night where I just looked up and I was like, this is really beautiful. Yeah. The weather was perfect. The performance is so great and everybody's so happy. Do you guys have a moment when you're out there when you just sort of like look at the audience, you're like, this is cool?
I have them a lot. Yeah, I really do. I love being out there. And speaking about the elements, when Kate makes an entrance with the ladies, I say something, here they come, you're more beautiful than the moon. Every night I'm looking for the moon to reference it. And it's there at certain times, but it's not been there where I can do it at that moment. Because there have been other plays that I've done out there and had actors. Patrick Stewart had a famous one at the end of The Tempest when he talks about Caliban. It ends something like his mother, Caliban, his mother, Sycorax, she could control the moon. And often at the end of the play, the moon would be hanging there. And he would milk it in the most beautiful way. He would go, his mother could control, and he'd point, and the moon is hanging over the Delacourt. You hear 1,800 people collectively go, ah. So it's real magic, and there are a lot of moments like that. There's real quick, there's a story about George C. Scott doing Shylock out there, and Jessica has left, and he finds her handkerchief is the only thing that's remaining. He goes to pick it up. A wind picks up in the Delacourt, blows it away. He can't get it. Stories like that.
Yeah.
It's just magic.
Yeah. You have to react to the elements, which is exciting to watch because I'm like, I don't know how they're doing this with the helicopters and the raccoons, but it's always flawless. So congrats to you guys.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions before we get out of here, 2, I believe. First one.
Hi, I wanted to ask you guys, what is your favorite scene in the play to watch or to be in?
Oh, that's a great question.
I know. I'll speak first. The scene that I love to watch is when Tullus Ophidius and Coriolanus meet the first time. There's Coriolanus comes out with a chain, and it's their first meeting where you see them meet, and then of course they meet again in the second half. And it's that relationship in the play is so fascinating to me. It's such a key to the play. And I love to sit in the VOM after I've been on and just watch the dynamics of that scene. Also, Dan has directed it so brilliantly. We had such a fantastic fight director, Steve Rankin, who just worked it out with such detail how that interplay happens. So I love watching that scene.
I'm trying to say one that's not one of my scenes. No, seriously, I really love playing my scenes. I love my opening. You've seen the play? I love my first scene with the people. When I come out and I talk to people, I love that scene. I love the first scene with the tribunes. I know you said 1, but the scene that I like, but what I like I love Jonathan at the end of the play when he tells Ophidius that, when he says, like an eagle in the dovecote, and the way he fluttered their Volskis. I love the way he does that, and I've seen it a couple times, so that's one of my favorite, too, the way he does that.
I think my first thought was, I won't give away exactly what happens, but the second scene between Coriolanus and Aufidius, the two great warriors, and when they meet again under surprising circumstances, and the really complicated relationship they have, and I think kind of a comment that Shakespeare's making about men and how men are allowed to be in society, and men's relationship with each other, and the pressure to be a warrior, and there's many interesting things that exist in that scene, and I always find it fascinating.
I have to say my favorite scene was Coriolanus's mom, like laying into him in the end.
Oh, the yelling scene
Yeah.
in the first hour when I come back.
Yeah, I like the second, and he's like trying to ignore her, but he can't, and I'm like, that's all of us and our moms. Like,
Yeah, the audience.
moms just have a way of getting you.
Just right.
Jonathan Cake's kids came the other night, and he said that his son said his favorite moment of the play was when one of the tribunes says about Kate that she's mad. His mom, he's mad. He said his son said that was his favorite moment.
Everybody's got a mom, and you're like, yeah, moms are mad. One last one.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I love seeing theater at the Delacorte because it's like traveling back in time to the globe. And I'm just curious if you prepare any differently in rehearsal for an open air venue, and is it weird going back to a theater with a roof afterwards?
That's a really good question. Yes, it is. It is different. And Dan Sullivan has directed so many times in the park. I was talking to Jim Shapiro, our Shakespeare scholar, and he said, oh, look, watch Dan the way he's directing the first few scenes, because it's different. The first few scenes, it's light out. So you have to actually be very, very specific in those first few scenes. Dan often has us moving as we talk, because if we weren't moving, because we're all mic'd, you wouldn't know where to look. And then it changes, it starts to morph as it goes into the dark, then the sky goes dark. So, and of course, as we go through the month, it gets darker and darker at the beginning of the play. So right now it's very light. I mean, it's just exponential in terms of when the light changes. So that is actually the biggest difference, because you have to start at 8 o'clock in order to finish the play by like 10:30 or whatever it is. So that for me is the fascinating thing about being outside. And then actually it was funny. We did last Saturday because, we didn't have a performance or rehearsal scheduled in the park. We went back to the public, and we were inside the Newman Theater rehearsing, and it was weird to be inside. It was like, God, we're inside. That's so odd, and it felt like nobody's talking, and we can't hear wind or helicopters, as I heard in my entire last speech last night. I was like, thank you, helicopter, for hovering.
I was wondering if you even heard that, because I was like,
yeah.
does she even hear that, or is it just like you're...
Well, the other thing that happened was, and I don't want to belabor this, but the night before, during that big scene at the end of the play, a little friend had visited some people in a row, and they started screaming and laughing. So we had to stop for about 7 seconds. Yeah, so I just stopped. I looked at Jonathan and was like, I'm going to just let that calm down, because I can't keep talking if, a raccoon is going to join me on stage. Anyway, but that's an excellent question. Excellent question.
I agree with all of that, and I don't prepare any differently indoors and outdoors. I don't like being mic'd, but you have to be. So same preparation.
I would say that I don't think that I personally prepared differently, but I do think there's something so magical about being outside. It's easy when you do a play and you're an actor to get very wrapped up in yourself or worried about your performance, or, am I doing this well? Am I good? Or is this right? And there's something about performing at the Delacorte that's beyond that in a way. It helps you. Yeah, it's bigger than you. It's not about you. And, all the people that have waited all day for tickets, or, these are people that really want to see a Shakespeare play, and the community feeling and the sense of being tied to, the history of theater, which you always feel when you do Shakespeare, but then the history of theater in New York that you feel when you're at the Delacorte, and the community joy of the opportunity that we all have to get together in this city, this wonderful city, and see a play like Coriolanus produced with great love and care for free. it transcends the sort of petty worries that an actor or performer can have. And so in that way, I think it's very different and filled with joy.
It's a very special experience. I've lived in New York for 10 years, and this is the first summer I've gone to Shakespeare in the Park, and I've gone to 2, and I was like, what have I been missing? You know, it really is a special thing.
Also, the 2 that you've seen, Much Ado and Coriolanus, I mean, honestly, those are 2 fantastic representations of Shakespeare in the Park. Both of them very vibrant.
And of the work that the Public Theater does to kind of revamp and change and make it fit a certain like it just has been a really amazing experience for me this summer to check out Shakespeare in the Park. So thank you all for your performances. They were amazing.
Thank you.
I had
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
And if you guys want to check out Coriolanus, you can do that now through August 11th at the Delacorte Theater in Central Park. There's a lot of different ways to get tickets, so go to thepublictheater.org for more information and put your hands together for Enid Graham, Teagle, Bougere, and Kate Burton.